There is a moment in every life when silence becomes unbearable, when standing still starts to feel like drowning in slow motion, when the weight of what could be presses harder than the weight of what is. That moment, it's not loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or applause. It comes quietly, like a whisper behind your ribs asking, "Is this all you're going to be?" And most people, they ignore it. They turn the volume up on distraction. They pour another cup of coffee, scroll one more time, tell themselves, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow is just a mirage for those who keep negotiating with fear. Because here's the truth. You are one decision away from a completely different life. One decision. Not 10. Not a full-blown reinvention. Not perfection. Just one courageous choice. One bold step forward. One moment where you look fear in the eyes and say, "Not this time." Fear is not the enemy. It's the compass. It shows you exactly where your soul wants to grow. But too many people keep treating fear like a stop sign instead of a green light. They bow to it, they consult it, they let it vote. And as long as fear gets a seat at your table, your life will remain a negotiation, a compromise, a half version of what it could have been. But those who build empires, who turn ideas into movements, pain into art, wounds into wisdom, they all have one thing in common. They stopped negotiating with fear. They made a decision. Edison decided he wouldn't stop after the first failure, or the 100th. He failed 10,000 times before the light bulb. Imagine if he had decided on failure number 7,000 that maybe he wasn't cut out for it. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination, fired from a newspaper, bankrupt. But he decided that the world he saw in his mind deserved to exist. So he built it anyway. And now millions walk through it every single day. Lincoln lost 8 elections, suffered a nervous breakdown, and still decided to lead. Ford changed the world not because he had an idea, but because he had the will to act on it when others laughed. That's the power of one decision. Because clarity doesn't always come before commitment. Sometimes commitment creates clarity. You leap, and only in mid-air do the wings begin to form. But most people are waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for signs. Waiting for approval, for permission, for proof. And in that waiting room of life, their dreams decay. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Is it safety? Let me break something to you. Safety is the most dangerous illusion ever sold. There is no safe path. There's only the path you were born to take, and the one that kills your spirit in slow, polite doses. You don't need more time. You need more courage. Because life responds to boldness. The universe opens its doors to the relentless. Not the hesitant, not the comfortable, not the lukewarm, but the ones who dare to decide. Decide that your pain will not be wasted. Decide that your past will not be a prison. Decide that your potential is not up for debate. The minute you do that, something shifts. And it won't be immediate. It won't be easy. But it will be real. Because decision is power. Not just any decision. Aligned decision. Decisions made from your highest self, not your lowest fear. That is the dividing line between the forgotten and the unforgettable. Your beliefs are the architects of your reality. If you believe you're stuck, you are. If you believe you're broken, you will live fragmented. But if you believe, even slightly, that you were born for more, then you must decide like it. You must stop feeding fear with your time, your excuses, your attention. Because every moment you entertain fear, you starve your future. Understand this. Fear doesn't go away. It adapts. It evolves. It wears different clothes: procrastination, perfectionism, overthinking, comfort. But underneath it all is the same parasite, draining your potential, whispering lies, painting the walls of your life in beige. And today, right now, You get to interrupt that pattern. No more waiting for the fear to disappear. That's not how courage works. Courage is making the decision while you're still afraid. It's choosing vision over validation, purpose over popularity, destiny over doubt. Every empire was once an idea. Every legend was once laughed at. Every breakthrough was once a breakdown. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too small. You are one decision away from a completely different life. So decide. Decide to wake up early. Decide to show up with fire. Decide to write the book, make the call, take the leap. Decide to stop giving fear the microphone. Decide to own your story, even the messy chapters. No one is coming to crown you. You must crown yourself. When you stop negotiating with fear, you become dangerous. Dangerous to mediocrity. Dangerous to limitation. Dangerous to every excuse that ever tried to hold you hostage. And that danger is what sets you free. This is your moment. This is your line in the sand. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels convenient. Now. Because once you decide, everything changes. And once you decide, the world doesn't shift immediately, but you do. The air tastes different. The mirror reflects a different version of you, not because you changed overnight, but because you chose. You finally chose. The fog starts to lift. Not all at once, but just enough to see the next step. And that's all you ever needed. Clarity for the next move, not the whole map. You begin to walk differently. Speak differently. You stop asking rooms for permission to take up space, because now you know you belong. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking to fit inside lives that were never built for your expansion. You stop dancing around your destiny to avoid stepping on egos. And slowly, you become magnetic. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. Not because you know more, but because you doubt less. Not because you're fearless, but because you move anyway. People feel that. They don't know what changed, but they can't ignore it. You've entered a different frequency, one that doesn't beg, one that builds. That's what decision does. It upgrades your energy before it upgrades your environment. And here's the part no one tells you. The real reward of deciding isn't the goal. It's the becoming. The person you become when you wake up and keep choosing, when no one claps, when it's hard, when the results don't show yet. But you still show up, with faith louder than facts. That version of you? That's the one the world's been waiting for. Not the perfect one, not the polished one, but the one that's finally all in. So burn the backup plan. Let the safety nets rot. Step out of the waiting room and into the fire. Because yes, it will burn. But what will be left after is the real you. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs your courage, your strange, your soul, unfiltered. Because once you decide, you stop being a spectator of your own life. You become the author, the director, the storm. You don't chase destiny anymore, you embody it. And when you embody destiny, you stop running from your calling. You start answering it. Even when your hands shake, even when the road looks empty. Because now, you know, silence is not absence. It's preparation. Emptiness is not failure. It's space being made for what's coming. See, life never forgets those who show up in the dark. Those who choose faith before results. Those who plant seeds without needing applause, because they understand. The soil is where legends are built. In the unseen, in the uncelebrated, in the long nights where no one's watching, but you keep going anyway. That's where character is forged, where confidence is earned, where belief is rebuilt from rubble. You see, most people want the crown, but they fear the cross. They want the victory, but they avoid the valleys. They want the transformation, without the tension that requires it. But not you. Not anymore. Because when you decide, you stop chasing comfort. You start chasing calling. You stop making decisions based on pain avoidance and start making them based on purpose alignment. And there's a violence in that kind of clarity, a sacred, necessary violence, the kind that breaks chains, burns bridges that lead nowhere, destroys the version of you that was built on survival, so the one built for significance can rise. People may not understand. They'll call you crazy, obsessive, too much. Let them. Greatness has always been misunderstood in real time. Einstein, Van Gogh, Jobs, Mandela, Mother Teresa, all of them walked through fire while the world called them fools, until history called them visionaries. So if your path feels lonely, if your vision feels too big, too wild, too risky, good. That's how you know it's yours. Ordinary never makes you feel like that. Fear never fights that hard unless you're onto something powerful. And hear me when I say this. You were not made to blend. You were not born to settle. There is fire in your soul that cannot be negotiated with. There are gifts in your spirit that can no longer wait for perfect timing. You've tried playing small. You've tried shrinking, dimming, delaying, explaining, and none of it worked. Because your destiny is louder than your doubt. So now it's time to let it take the wheel, to stop walking halfway to the mountain and calling it peace. This is where your old story ends, not because it failed, but because you outgrew it. And the moment you accept that, you walk with power. You stop reacting. You start creating. Not from ego, but from essence. Not from fear, but from fire. Not to prove anything, but because you finally remembered who you are. And when you remember who you are, everything shifts. You stop needing permission. You stop auditioning for worthiness in rooms that were never built to hold your fire. You stop explaining your dreams to people who've buried their own. You stop asking fear for directions to places it's never been. You stop settling for lukewarm love, half-felt days, and almost made choices. Because once you decide to live on purpose, you don't just change your life. You ignite your lineage. You rewrite the script for everyone who comes after. You become the moment your bloodline remembers. This is when we rose. This is when the chain broke. When survival turned into creation. When trauma turned into triumph. When wounds became windows to a deeper, fuller, freer existence. And all of that started with one decision. Not a perfect one. Not a convenient one. But a real one. A decision made while your voice trembled, but your soul stood tall. A decision made without proof, but full of power. A decision to stop waiting for the world to change and become the force that does. So take the leap. Start the thing. Have the hard conversation. Say no to the noise. Say yes to the call. Because this is not a rehearsal. This is your one wild, unrepeatable life. And the clock doesn't slow down just because you hesitate. The moment is now. Burn the backup plan. Delete the excuses. Cut ties with the version of you that waits for guarantees. Step into the storm. Speak the truth. Stand for your vision, no matter who stays, who leaves, or who never understood it to begin with. Because your life is not meant to be understood by everyone. It's meant to be lived fully by you. And in the end, the world doesn't remember those who followed the rules of fear. The world remembers the ones who chose to rise. So rise. Rise. Even when your knees shake. Rise. Even if no one claps. Rise. Because staying small was never your destiny. You were not born for the shadows. You were not shaped by the universe just to blend in and disappear. You were sculpted by storms, tempered by time, wired for wonder, and called to rise beyond the noise of fear and build a life so bold it silences doubt. You don't owe the world your quiet. You owe it your roar, your vision, your fire, your fight. You are the one. The turning point. the plot twist, the generational breaker, the soul who said, "It ends with me," and something greater begins. So let the past burn. Let comfort die. Let fear scream, and let it scream alone, because your decision has already been made. And now you walk. Now you climb. Now you become. Because you are no longer waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle. And from this moment forward, the world will feel your decision, not in words, but in who you become. And everything changes, forever.